Watch this till the end to know about Jesus' productivity. We can learn a lot of things about productivity from Jesus, regardless of how much Jesus wanted to do in a day. The gospel writer shared that he took time to pray and to rest, suggesting he did both regularly in Luke 5:16 it states, but Jesus often withdrew to lonely places and prayed. Sometimes the tasks we have in a day can seem overwhelming and our to-do list never ending. Regardless, there always has to be a room in our life for a relationship with Jesus. If we want to follow Christ's actions in order to become more productive, we also have to learn how to be less productive. It does not seem to be enough for Jesus that he spoke with God as he was doing things. He regularly removes himself to pray. He stops, he rests, he speaks with his Father. It is possible to become so busy and focused on our tasks that time of intentional, restful prayer in non-existence. Jesus communicates with his actions that the time he allowing ourselves even 7 minutes, even morning to speak to God can change the way we spend the rest of our day. We will walk into each day with more patience, more endurance, and more clarity, all of which will lead to more productivity. Perhaps the best way to become more productive people is to take the time each day, even 7 minutes, to pause and pray. Our relationship with Jesus can transform everything about us, even how well we tackle our tasks. In John 7, we read how Jesus prays. It is a beautiful, encouraging prayer and can teach us a lot about how we pray with God. The words before he begins praying is also beautiful and can encourage us today. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Take time to pray today and lift your cares to him. He promises to give us peace. Jesus seemed to have an acute sense of time management. He accomplished a vast amount of things in his 3 years of ministry. In fact, John writes at the end of his gospel, and these are also many other things which Jesus did, which if they were written in detail, I suppose that even the world itself would not contain the books that would be written. As we look at Jesus' management of time, it seems fitting to look almost exclusively in the book of Mark. Mark is by far the shortest of the 4 Gospels. The word immediately is used over 40 minutes in the Gospel of Mark. Jesus got things done. He was decisive. He did not get distracted. To take a particular instance of as an example, in Mark, Jesus feeds 5,000 people. He then gets on a boat crosses to the region Delamath and speaks with the Pharisees. After that, he again enters his boat, landing in Bethsaida, where he meets a blind man whom he immediately heals. He does all of this in just 26 verses. Perhaps it is just the way Mark chooses to write, but there are many such instances of Jesus completing and one task after the other. He never walks with urgency. He took time to preach for 3 days. He took time to speak with his disciples, and he took time for the blind man. He also, however, does not hesitate. That is perhaps the biggest thing to notice in reading through the book of Mark. Jesus never hesitates. This is a more practical and easy attribute of Jesus' ministry to apply to our own workload. The most efficient way to get things done is to do them immediately. Take a task and complete it immediately without hesitation. When we think of productivity, what comes to mind is a person run around completely tasks after tasks. Jesus also completes many tasks. He talked, healed, and spoke with many people during his 3 years of ministry. He also, however, does everything with intention. Being productive does not mean doing everything. Productivity is actually about being intentional with what we do and doing it in such a way that we actually have more time, not less. Imagine if Jesus had written a to-do list every morning and only completed what was written off his schedule. Multiply situations throughout the Gospels suggest Jesus was productive exactly because he was intentional with what he said, who he healed, and where he went. The story of the woman at the well is a perfect example of this. The journey Jesus took to get to her was completely out of his way. The woman could not understand why he, instead of talking to her, only Jesus seemed to understand why this woman mattered. That's actually what productivity hinges on, doing what matters. Throughout Christ's life, he communicates on an intimacy with his Father, what we can all learn from. As Jesus is coming to the end of his earthly life, he spends hours in a garden speaking with God. As he begins his earthly ministry, he is tempted by Satan, but spent 40 days fasting beforehand. For Jesus, the best things he could do was turn to God. The most important decisions and moments in his life that lay before him required him to take time with his Father first. If we want to make decisions or be more productive, time with the Father is essential. Christ gave focus to one task, the one before him. We can learn a lot from him. Perhaps that means giving up things to focus more on our main tasks of kingdom building. Perhaps that's means working harder at work and with more intention. And perhaps that means being more active in how we let our light shine in our workplaces. Take a moment today and ponder what is drawing your focus and either why is should or why is it should not be. Perhaps this can be the most important takeaway we can receive from Christ as the look at how productive he was. He and the Father one more. When we make time for Jesus and prioritize our relationship with Him, we will experience more productivity, less stress, and more peace. If we want to become more productive people and have time for what matters most, we have to prioritize the one who matters most. In Jesus' name, Amen.